One of my favorite Garyvee answers was when asked what you would do if your daughter, when she turns 14, goes into her room and is filming all her videos and nobody likes it, and she comes out and says, "Nobody in this world loves me," and your answer was, "Step your game up," I believe is the answer. Tell us about that.
The market is the market, man. Like, you know, if nobody's watching your stuff, like, it's not good enough. Like, everybody thinks their stuff is so good. Like, every day, Gary, my Instagram's so on fire, it's so awesome. Why is nobody, like, why am I not gaining followers? Because it's not awesome. Like, of course, like, it's just back to the same, like, you've seen it. You all have friends who be like, "Look how cute my kid is," and you're like, "Ugh." You know, like, it's what we think. We all think our stuff is the best, and like, I get that. But yeah, that would be my advice, only because that also is liberating. Like, to me, everything's about breathing, right? Like, to me, everything is about, like, take full ownership for everything, and then everything gets easy, because then you're in control. And then learn how to love to lose. Like, for me, my game's simple, right? It's all my fault. So now, I'm not mad at Lindsay or D-Rock, or that's it, my fault. I'm empowering them. So it's actually true. My fault. Now, oh, we lost this, or this didn't deliver, or we f***ed up. All right, it's an L. Like, everybody's got losses. You know, it's funny, when UFC started getting popular, I started using it to paint a picture. I'm like, look, business and entrepreneurship is much more UFC than it is boxing. In boxing, a loss is devastating. Like, you know, if you ever, you know, I'm a big boxing fan, like most big fights, like the big fights through the year, almost, it's just unbelievable amounts of 33-0 versus 35-0, right? Just like, that's like what you do. You don't fight anybody and you get to that level. Everybody's got losses in the UFC. And so I think that's how entrepreneurship, that's how life is. We all have losses. And so I like losses. I love adversity. I like the climb. I like the chip on my shoulder. I like when people are like, "Oh, I knew it. He's not that good." That is like I'm even weirdly scared as I continue to ascend and I'm getting popular and what do you say, the marketing leading, like as people start putting these words in front of my name, I'm like, am I gonna sabotage myself to like recorrect this? Like, I like adversity. So yeah, all on me. You know, I enjoy losses. Now all of a sudden, like what? You become completely invincible. I feel invincible. I really genuinely, outside of the health of myself and 20 people, feel 100% invincible as a person.
X quote that you really like.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is and why it's so powerful.
That which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. And I think that identifies most people's lives. In other words, average becomes sort of like this slow asphyxiation. It's almost like an anesthetic. And that over time we become kind of immune and dulled to the average that we're becoming. I know this is true, at least for me. You probably experience it yourself too. And so over time, we sort of minimize where we're at. In other words, I'm a little pudgy instead of being, no, you're a fat ass, right? You don't magnify the degree to which the pain ought to be affecting you. And so really what he means in that is, listen, you're gonna get out of your life what you'll accept. That's really difficult for people, I think, to understand is, look, what you think you're worth and what you're gonna tolerate is absolutely what you're gonna bring into your life and what the outward part of your life's gonna look like. And so I live by that. Like, I let myself sort of feel the pain and the difficulty of being not where I wanna be in whatever that area is, whether it's my spirituality, my relationships, my money. I let myself feel that pain because, as you know, there's two motivators, right? There's the gaining of pleasure, right? Wanting to go get something, chasing the dream. But then there's the avoidance of pain. And for a lot of champions, that's a pretty big driving force for them. And so at least for me, I leverage both of those things on me to get myself to take action.
I can't be asked to do anything. I'm not going for a run, I'm not stretching, I'm doing nothing.
Every day.
Yeah. So you have the thought, but you don't have the day.
Every day.
Do you ever let yourself have a day where you just watch Netflix?
Never, because guess what?
Shit on Netflix.
I'm haunted. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. There may be some days I get up with poopy pants and I'm like, you know what, man? F this, man. Like, what am I training for?
Yeah. I
have no race on the docket. Why am I having such a structured life? Why? And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm done. I retire every day.
Yeah.
I'm done with this shit. And I sit around and I say, okay. And then this is my thought process. So you want to be normal. So you just want to be like everybody else that roams the world, not knowing the power that's in them. Being fine with being mediocre. You want to go back to who you were, huh, David? And I'm like, that, man.
And you have that conversation with yourself every day?
Not every day, it's those bad days.
Yeah.
It's those bad days. I see a whole bunch of people walking around out here who have no idea how talented they truly are. And I'm talking about talent, like some God-given ability. Talent that sometimes you have to hone, and you have to work on, and you have to harness yourself. And they just walk around just on their phones, just clueless to how powerful they are.
We've all heard the story, and I'm just sharing it again to give context. We've all heard the story of the two wolves or the two dogs, however you want to phrase it. And if you haven't, I'll tell it now. It's the story of how inside of us there are two dogs, two wolves, and they're fighting for supremacy. So inside you, one is the initiator and one is the responding. Your whole life, you've been feeding and listening to the initiator. So your initiating wolf is strong, powerful, bulky, aggressive, because it's been fed well your whole life. And your responsive dog, your responsive wolf, has not been fed, has not been listened to. And so it's weak and feeble and meek and humble and doesn't even stand to fight. So when they two come to fight inside of you, this wolf's just gonna eat that wolf right up. And that's what's happening right now. So for all of us, whatever two wolves you're seeing, whether it's your mind and your intelligence, whether it's your intuition versus what your parents say, whether it's expectations of society versus your expectations of yourself, like whatever two wolves you have inside of you, the one that wins is the one you feed and the ones you have been feeding. Now, if you're at a point where you are and where I am and where all of us are in different scenarios of our life, where we're trying to shift and start feeding the other one, it's hard because the other one's just been fed more, it's stronger, it's able to push you, it's able to dictate you. And this is where detachment's so key, that detachment doesn't mean that you own nothing. Detachment means that nothing owns you. And most of us have become owned by our darker wolves. Most of us have become owned by the self that we don't want. So that conditioning has been drawn up. The only way to break it is to disrupt the pattern, to really break that. It has to be, and this is why I talk to people about immersive experiences. Like you meditating for 10 minutes a day on a headspace, that's wonderful and I recommend it, but that's not gonna shift this in a drastic way. Right. You are going to have to go and spend a week out in Joshua Tree with the shaman. You are going to have to take a break in Jerusalem, right? We were both in love with Jerusalem. Like instead of going on a holiday this year, you are gonna have to go on a 3-day intensive transformative retreat. And the reason why I'm saying all these different things is they all have different budgets. They're all available in different countries. You don't have to go to India and live with monks, but you have to do something, and it has to be immersive. Because when you get immersed in something, then you're giving something the power to break your pattern. Right. And I think the challenge is we're trying to solve it by a little thing every day, which is a good start to get us going. But if you're really serious about a massive shift in your life, wherever you're seeing that energy coming from for the right side, the responsive side, you need to go water that, you need to go feed it, you need to go give it energy. And that's what I think we find that. And then that's where I think people struggle. They still want to go on their beach holiday. They're like, no, I can't give that up. I need that. Or this weekend, I still need to go and do up my house. And it's like, well, no, like just imagine what would happen if this weekend you just went on a 3-day retreat that changed your life. Like imagine if you just gave that energy.
Plus growth plus contribution equals personal satisfaction.
Yeah. It's like those all coming together, a lot of people have never experienced. And it's hard for you and I to say that as personal development guys, but it's true. There's a lot of people who've never had those three completely line up, so they're not satisfied even with their job or their career or their life, because the passion isn't there. Even if the passion's there, they don't feel like they're growing. But everybody who I talk to, do you remember that first personal development book you read? Do you remember that first time you wrote tons of notes about what you wanted your life to be about? Do you remember that first time you watched a movie that inspired you to go change? There was fire there. Because that learning, it opened up your mind to a new level of existence for you. And as soon as you saw it, you were like, ooh, ambition hit your heart. And now if you can match it with contribution and you can see how that passion or that fire or that learning or that growth all aligns to some type of impact, now you're getting me fired up. Because now I can see the outcome of all the work. A lot of people don't do the work because they don't believe the outcome.
That's interesting.
You know, if psychologists talk about the power of expectancy. When we talk about motivation, there's only two things that spark motivation. One is ambition, and that is I want more of, or I want a greater depth of, right? I want a greater depth of connection with my lady, that's ambition. Or I want a better meditative practice, that's ambition, right? I want to be better at my job, that's ambition. So it starts with ambition. But ambition, if it's not coupled with what they call expectancy in psychology, you're screwed. Expectancy says, I believe that I can figure that out. I believe that I can achieve that. I believe that that is possible for me. Because if we don't believe it's possible for me, you can show them all the results from 1,000 people, right? How many people say, I want to get in great shape? You know, Tom, I'm gonna do ketosis. I'm doing the ketosis thing, man. And they hop on your Instagram and they see the cuts, they see the changes, they see the transformations, but they don't believe it's possible for them. So they don't try. Expectancy is their problem. You gotta bust through the beliefs to get them to understand that it is possible for them, not for other people, for them. And if you can open that gate for somebody, and often that's only achieved through learning, then you get somebody who starts really moving ahead forward. I mean, really moving ahead. Like the second they go, wait, that's possible for me, they'll try 50 stupid things, right? They'll try anything. But if they don't believe it's possible for them, they'll just quit.